Going to talk about closing costs in this week's Todd Talks video and go over a recent article of Keeping Current Matters, which is a real estate site I subscribe to. It's got great content. And the reason I want to discuss this is because it's something that's not very well understood by most people looking to buy a home. Even if you bought a home before, you're aware of their closing costs, but what are they and how much are they and what's the current trend? This article actually is going to reference 2 to 5%, and I'm here to tell you that it's closer to 5 to 6% in most cases, just the way the market is right now, with interest rates, discount points, and other fees that have to be paid. But there's a way to get other people to pay them, at least part or all. And I want to go over that too as a summary of this video. So let me go over the details first. So let's dive right into the details of the article. All right, so what are closing costs? They're the fees and expenses you must pay becoming the legal owner of a house, condo, or townhome. They vary depending on the purchase price and how it's being financed. Here's a basic list. There's government recording fees, appraisal fees, credit report fees, lender origination fees, title services, tax service fees, survey fees, attorney fees, underwriting fees. And then there's also setting up, you have to pay your insurance for the first year up front. And then most people opt in and do an escrow account, which means you have to pay taxes and insurance to set up the escrow account. And when you're looking at a house that's $500,000, they can easily be $20,000 or more. So literally 3, 4, 5, 6% could be closing costs. But the thing right now, at least as the making of this video, to get a decent interest rate, you're going to have to pay 2% for a discount points. Discount points are prepaid interest. So that's 2% of the loan amount. So let's say you have a $400,000 loan amount. That's like another $8,000. That's why closing costs are a little bit higher right now. So what do you do about it? So what do you do when let's say you have a certain amount of down payment, you're thinking about, because I hear a lot of people come to me and say, hey, I have 10% to work with. Well, is that 10% down or is that 10% total? I know the questions to ask, of course. If somebody says I have 10% to work with in total, then I'm designing a mortgage plan that also includes the closing costs. Hey, this is worst case that you pay your down payment and you pay all your closing costs. Now, if you're going to buy a house, you're going to have to pay closing costs. However, the closing costs can be paid for by several different means. Number one, they could be paid for by the seller. So if you find a house that's been sitting for a while, right now it's not uncommon for sellers to actually pay for the title policy and a percent of the purchase price towards closing. Now that depends. If you see a house that just got listed on MLS, usually they go out on a Thursday each week, so they're there for the weekend. You can expect, and you really love that house, you can expect that seller is probably not going to want to negotiate because the house just got listed. They're going to want to see how many offers come in. Or let's say you find a house that's been sitting for a while, but your agent calls the other offer and you discover that there's 5 other offers. Then our negotiation strategy is not going to be to get a price reduction or a closing cost concession. It's going to be, how do we beat out the other offers if we really like the house? So it really depends. But there's also cases, especially outside of the Metroplex and around like more rural areas or semi-rural areas, that houses are sitting for longer than normal. And those sellers, a lot of times I'm telling you guys, they're willing to give up 20 grand just for a quick sale because everyone has a ton of equity right now. So the sellers are out there. So that's one way, seller pays them. Number two, you can structure them into the loan. What that looks like is you take a higher interest rate and you're able to finance some of the closing costs into the rate. That's not ideal. That's probably the least of the solutions if you needed cash. At least right now, the way it is, it would be better to try to avoid that, but that is a solution. Another option is if you can qualify for down payment assistance. And it's not just for first-time home buyers. It's marketed for first-time home buyers, but it's primarily based on your income. So if your income is about $120,000 or less, we can look at down payment assistance so that we can combine that with your cash to cover the down payment and closing costs. The only thing with those is the higher the assistant goes, those also have a higher interest rate. And then the last one would be, instead of a seller, by the seller, if the seller is a builder, builders give great incentive. A few weeks ago, I did a video on our builder partnerships, and I have builders giving $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 towards closing, and then on those particular programs, we're actually able to add an incentive to that on our new construction as well. And so those folks are getting great deals on homes. The only challenge is for new construction is the location, because most of the interior of the Metroplex is built out. There is new construction, but if you look closely, if you're talking about North Texas, most of the new construction's in sort of the peripheral with some built out in between. So depending on where you want to live, you have to have the right strategy. So that's what I do. I'm a certified mortgage planner. My name's Todd Baker, DFW Mortgage Master, and I build people great plans. And what that means, what a mortgage plan is, it's a loan approval combined with financial planning. So it's a very high end, it's very educational. And with that plan, then you can execute the plan as to purchase price, correct payment amount, and how to negotiate, including if you find a house you really love, how do I buy this house and pay all my own closing costs in the event you need to do so. So I hope you find this helpful. Please feel comfortable reaching out to me any day, any time you need help. I'm always here to help you. Have a wonderful day.